It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
All right, SKOR North Twins Show, little extra innings bonus episode here as the Twins wrap things up from the All-Star game. Crazy game. Had the swing off. Great performances from Buxton and Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan struck out 2 in his inning of work on just 10 pitches. Buck had the big double that led to the rally for the American League, and then the swing off, which I know not everyone was a huge fan of. I thought it was cool. I know baseball loves its sanctity and all the regular rules that go with it, but I thought it was unique. I liked it. In fact, we might have a bigger conversation about that on Mackey and Judd tomorrow, so go check that out. But this is the SKOR North Twins Show. I wanted to hop on here because we did have some updates on the potential ownership sale from the Pohlads who are looking to still sell the Twins. Every time we talk about this stuff, you guys seem to consume some of the most consumed episodes are these episodes, plus I have a little bit more background on some of the things that have surrounded that. So if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. Anytime something breaks like this, or if there's any other updates, I'll provide them here. My name's Declan Goff. I cover the team for home games and a podcast role. So if you're looking for the latest trade rumors, Twins roster updates, this is the place for you. This is the SKOR North Twins Show. So Rob Manfred did speak about this at the All-Star Media week that was happening, obviously. So here's some things that Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, had to say about the potential Twins sale. Both ESPN had some stuff on this. Jeff Passan did. Dan Hayes, who covers the Twins for The Athletic, also had some of this as well. Here's what Rob Manfred had to say. I know some things that you don't know, and I can tell you with a lot of confidence that there will be a transaction there, and it will be consistent with the kind of pricing that has taken place. There will be a transaction. We just need to be patient while they rework. So a couple things. Number one, the commissioner of baseball is basically proclaiming that there will be a sale. How close is that sale to happening? We still don't really know yet. The valuation part. The Rays just sold for $1.7 billion, which is roughly the same price or the reported price that the Twins are seeking, which honestly tells me, and I know there's some debt and some other things there that are making this a little more confusing, but if anything, the Twins price might go up because if the Rays are selling for that, the Twins could certainly get more. Baltimore, about, 16 months ago now, they sold for $1.725 billion, so the Rays came just under what Baltimore was sold for, even though Baltimore was sold 16 months ago and the Rays sales basically being finalized. They came a little bit underneath that. That's not surprising given Tampa's situation of low payroll, attendance issue. They're playing in a minor league park. Tropicana is trying to be rebuilt. They need a new stadium in general. It sounds like the new owners want to put that more in Tampa Bay than on the St. Pete side. So makes sense maybe even why the Rays went a little bit underneath Baltimore. But if you're the Twins, you're looking for more than $1.7 billion. That's obviously your floor, most likely. They had reported, I believe Dan Hayes of The Athletic reported this, they did turn down an offer of like $1.5 billion at one point when they were seeking a sale. But Rob Manfred claiming that there will be a transaction. You just have to be a little bit more patient. Here's what else. Here's some more of what Manfred had to say. He said, that this is a small business, right? When in regards of the bankers that facilitate these transactions, all those bankers that are out there ain't that many of them. They all talk to each other. When it becomes clear that you have a leader in the clubhouse, everybody else kind of backs away, right? Because they kind of get a feel for the price. And unless they're prepared to top, they're going to move on and do something else. So it's a big part of the delay in Minnesota was associated with the leader in the clubhouse made a decision to do something else. That leader in the clubhouse was obviously Justin Ishbia, who the Twins were at least at one point close to some kind of sale before Justin and Matt Ishbia, who his brother owns, the majority owner of the Phoenix Suns, they backed out. They then go pursue the White Sox, leaving the Twins basically to start all over again. So publicly, this team has been on the market, for now, 9-10 months. That Ishbia stuff broke around December, that those two parties were at least getting closer to a deal, and then it was in, February, March, that those sides went in different directions, and the Twins essentially had to restart over again. So that was about 4 months ago. So, if you just kind of do the math, it took about 4 months from when the sale started to when Justin Ishbia had interest and then went away. And now we're at 5 months, basically, and Rob Manfred proclaiming there will be a transaction. We don't know who the front runner is for that. I know Charlie Walters reported a couple weeks ago, and we did a show on it, that there was a deal on the table. I don't know if that is true. I will say, just talking to some Twins officials, that the debt issue is more of a complicated issue than it's just they've made bad business decisions. That's not really the case. The poll ads kept almost everyone, if not a lot of the more important people during the COVID years on the Twins organization employed. So they paid out of their own pockets to keep people employed. They've also made renovations in the ballpark out of their own pockets. And look, Target Field's awesome. And to be honest, a lot of those renovations and a lot of the reasons Target Field is still so great to this day, 15 years later, is because of the poll ads. I know on this show we have ripped them, and at times they certainly deserve it. But that was a big part of it, why that debt has kind of accrued. Plus, operating a baseball stadium during those 2 years of COVID, not easy to do. You're losing ticket sales. So it's not just like, where did this $400 million in debt just magically appear from? It's a lot of things. And when you sell a lot of those, a lot of those other owners who are coming on, or how you're facilitating the sale, they use debt too. So I don't think that debt is deteriorating them from not getting to the finish line of a sale. If you have the commissioner saying that there will be a transaction, I guess you have to take it at face value. I know a lot of people also don't like Rob Manfred. A lot of people just don't like sports owners. I think that's kind of the fight between fans and ownership. But very interesting that you have Manfred saying that a transaction will take place and we just have to be patient. I guess we'll wait and see. I'm not sure when that will happen. Is it through the end of this season? I'd like to think, which is stuff we've talked about before, that they'd like to get this done before the lockout happens after next season, like I guess a year from now, right? So a year from now will be the next All-Star break. If you were to ask me, yes or no, are the Twins sold 1 year from now, or at least is, a buyer on the table and they're pending sale and they've gotten to the finish line and now we just got to get through closing. I know how fun that is, getting to closing costs and all that fun stuff, buying a house. I got to imagine it's more complicated buying a $1.7 billion organization. I would bet at this point, if Manfred's saying that, that a year from now there would be a sale. That's my guess right now. Things can change again. Their leading candidate in the clubhouse that Manfred referred to multiple times backed out. So it sounds like they've made some good traction. I'm not sure who that is. How many parties are involved too? That's another thing. There might be a majority investor, and then there's minority people. Our guy Doogie has reported that Glenn Taylor and A-Rod and Lori, I know that sale has obviously been flipped to now A-Rod and Lori owning the organization, and Glenn Taylor being out. All three of those parties, who are separate, have no interest in buying the Twins, at least as of now. So do they get involved as minority owners? Maybe. Would the Wilps get involved as minority owners? Maybe. I'm not sure. I know that it's going to be just really interesting to see who comes to own the team, because fans want new ownership. I don't blame fans for wanting new ownership. So just let's be patient. That's where you're at here as the Twins look to find their next owners. I have some more stuff here from All-Star break with Joe Ryan, Byron, Buxton, kind of talking about the trade deadline, which was super interesting to hear. Two different sides of this. So we'll get into that here on the SKOR North Twins Show. The Twins will be back in action this weekend too, so plenty of different stuff happening. I want to talk to you, though, about my friends at Zbiotics. See this little guy here? It's called pre-alcohol. Just a little vial. Super easy to take. I took it over 4th of July, made my life so much easier. Didn't wake up with that foggy feeling, right? So Zbiotics is a pre-alcoholic beverage, and it's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. Here's some background and kind of how this works. So it was invented by PhD scientists to tackle those rough mornings after drinking. And when you drink it, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. And it's a buildup of this product, not the dehydration, that's the blame for those rough mornings after drinking. So you take little pre-alcohol here from our friends at Zbiotics, and you feel a lot better. I felt a lot better after a 4th of July weekend where I was having a lot of fun. If you're interested in Zbiotics, go to zbiotics.com/twins. That's zbiotics.com/twins. It's in the comments section. Zbiotics.com/twins, and you'll get 15% off your first order when you use Twins at checkout. Plus, they have a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Zbiotics.com/twins. I recommend it. Go check it out to avoid those rough mornings. Let's start with what Byron Buxton had to say. When asked about the trade rumors, there's been a lot of national people that have thrown out just the idea of, what if Byron Buxton could be available? He has a no-trade clause. I know a lot of fans automatically shut that down. Well, other people are discussing it, and it's definitely worth talking about. I understand sometimes some of those national people might not realize there's not a no-trade clause. That hurts the credibility of doing something, but it's fun to talk about crazy trade rumors and crazy ideas, like the Twins signing Carlos Correa. Oh, my God, why would that ever happen? It happened twice. So Buxton, when asked about potentially being traded or playing for someone else, he said, quote, "I've got a no-trade clause, and I'm a Minnesota Twin for the rest of my life. That's the best feeling in the world, knowing when I walk into the clubhouse every day, it's going to say Twins. I love Minnesota. That's home." Now, Buxton is from Georgia, where the All-Star game was in Atlanta. He lives there in the offseason, too, in Baxley. It's a few hours from Atlanta. It's not necessarily close, but he's from Georgia. And he recognizes that Baxley is where I'm from, and I go back every offseason. But once our season's over, I'll be back there, back home. But I don't want to play anywhere else. The team, the people, the city, they made me who I am and made me a part of it there. That's home, too. So Buxton pointing out the no-trade clause, pointing how much he loves the Twins. He's having the best year of his career. He's already been worth over 4 wins above replacement. He's slashing .289, .351, .547. He's a perfect 17 for 17 on stolen bases. He has 21 home runs. He's been incredible. And I guess Twins fans have had a complicated relationship with Buxton because, obviously, of the injuries, and now he's finally living up to potential. And it feels like, man, there was those windows there, right, in 2019 or 2020 where Buck battled some injuries. He missed the second half, essentially, of 2019. He had concussion problems towards the end of that weird pandemic year. And I get it, man. It's even in 23 when they snapped their playoff streak, like Buxton wasn't really much of a big contributor for them. So, yeah, that's interesting to see him say that. I doubles down on it, and I don't blame him. The Twins should build around Byron Buxton, man. He's been incredible. The interesting part, though, was Joe Ryan, the Twins starting pitcher, who, again, pitched a scoreless inning, struck out 2 batters in the All-Star game yesterday. He was asked about the unknown of the trade deadline, and he said, quote, "It's fun for me. The idea of being traded, that it's fun for me. July is awesome. I think everyone in the clubhouse gets excited just seeing where guys are going around the league. You don't know, and I think that's exciting. And being someone that could be traded, it would be exciting." He went on, though, to say, "I mean, I do love Minnesota, and I love where I'm at. So it would be sad, definitely hard to go, but at the end of the day, it's never up to me." Now, Ryan doesn't have a no-trade clause. He's having a great year. He's had really parts of 3 good seasons consecutively in a row. 2 years ago, he had the hamstring issue, which kind of derailed an excellent start for him. Last year, he had the tear strain that Pablo Lopez is going through that wiped out the last 2 months of his season. I know the Red Sox have checked in on him, according to John Morosi, MLB insider. Robert Murray, who also was a baseball insider, said he doesn't get the sense that Ryan is close to being dealt or that the Twins even would want to deal Joe Ryan. So, I mean, and that's fair and true. Like, I wouldn't just sell low on Joe Ryan. I think it's a more interesting talker in the offseason. You know, where does Joe Ryan want to be here long term? And if he's not interested in discussing an extension starting this offseason, then I do think you have to consider trading him when his value is at its absolute peak. I would like to keep Joe Ryan. That's where I stand on that. I think he's a very important pitcher and someone that you can't just punt on. But if he's not interested in extension talks, either now or throughout the winter months of 2025 into 6, then I do think you entertain an idea. You don't sell low on him because teams will pay you a pretty penny for him. But don't sell low on Joe Ryan. And if he's not interested in being here long term, which is completely up to him, I have no insider knowledge if he does indeed want to be here. I know he's expecting his first child, which is awesome. But that's up to him and up to Falvey to figure out, do they consider trading one of their more important players? and start gearing up for their prospect pool that is interesting and intriguing. They don't really have a lot of everyday pitchers that are ready to make an impact from a starting pitching side on the minors front yet. They're really not there yet. Andrew Morris hasn't really been super effective in St. Paul. He's been injured at times. They obviously drafted a couple dudes here in the draft, which is interesting, but there's no one really in their prospect pool that could step in. Like Connor Prelip is an interesting arm, but he's battled injuries. They've been very cautious with him. Marco Raya is an interesting one with the Saints, who at one point was their top pitching prospect, and has now put together like 6-7 really good starts. I don't know if Raya's ready to be like into the starting rotation, so that part's also super interesting. But that he could be one. I'd be shocked though if he like stepped in and was an immediate contributor. He's probably going to fight for a spot in the rotation in spring training next year. Like that part's super interesting. But if you're selling Joe Ryan, you are, I wouldn't say punting on 2026, but you'd be putting yourself in a tough spot, which then also, puts the question of what do you do at this year's trade deadline? Like Griffin Jackson, Duran's name keep getting brought up in trade circles. The Phillies have had scouts at Target Field. The Yankees need some bullpen help. I don't think you could sell one of those two. You could get some prospects for them. Like Tanner Scott got a big haul last year. He was the best reliever on the market. Griffin Jacks and Duran would probably get a similar return to what Tanner Scott got last year. But if you're the Twins, you would either want one of two things back, and at least in my opinion, if you were to trade one of those two dudes, you need two stud prospects, preferably one of them, in my opinion, being a pitcher that's closer to contribute to the major league level than a pitcher that's closer to being a developmental project. When they traded Ryan Presley, right, they got Duran, and Duran had to be developed a little bit, turn into a lights out reliever. I think if you're to trade Jax or Duran, you need to get a pitcher that is closer to being ready to being a major leaguer, or even a major leaguer back, which you wouldn't get, than to like get a couple high A prospects that are going to be stashed in the minors for a few years. So that creates a conundrum too. Teams would pay good pennies for them, but if you're the Twins, do you want to take away the second or first best option in your bullpen just to get prospects? Could you trade one of those guys and maybe get something of major league value back? Like the Twins need a righty bat. Could they get a legitimate first baseman back? That could be something you'd do, but again, it becomes very complicated. Like Danny Coulomb, Ty France, who has been playing very well. Harrison Bader is more in the Coulomb bin. If you were to trade Bader, I've discussed this like recently. I think that'd be a huge blow to the clubhouse. He's just a clubhouse guy, man. They love playing for him, playing with him, and that would be a shot in the clubhouse. And Ty France, even though he's been struggling, and as much as I've detailed it, you probably could move on here. He's also very important in the clubhouse, and dynamics, those are really important. In 2017, when they traded Brandon Kinsler, I remember talking to Brian Dozier, who was super pissed off about it, and then they went on a run. I don't know if it would spark them to go on a run, but the biggest reasons the Twins haven't lived up to snuff this year, outside of obviously like injuries at times, is Carlos Correa, Royce Lewis, and Matt Wallner have either been hurt or just flat out ineffective at the plate. And the Twins brass is looking at those three guys as, well, if they start clicking, we won 3 series in a row here. It's a softer launch out of the All-Star break against teams like Washington and Colorado. You do have the Dodgers in there. Red Sox are in there too, have been playing hot. But they're probably looking the last few weeks of, well, we're winning now. And if Wallner and Correa and Lewis figure things out, we're going to be a threat. Which, in theory and on paper, yes, is correct. But you've played almost 2/3 of your season, essentially. Those three guys haven't really shown you anything all year that they are going to be that. But if they are unlocked, yes, that's obviously the case. Pablo Lopez comes back. Then they could be a threat in October. Right now, the Twins are not a threat to be a playoff team or to scare anyone in October. A lot of season left, but very interesting to see that that's kind of where they're tracking and where they're looking. Trade deadline's 2 weeks from tomorrow. The Twins are also off that day on MLB trade deadline day. They're traveling, is it back home? Pull this up here. So sometimes, when trade deadline's happening, you get guys out of the lineup or they're a scratch, or they get pulled because they're about to be traded. The Twins won't have to really worry about that on deadline day since they'll be off. They will be traveling. They'll be in Cleveland at that point. They wrap up at home against the Red Sox on Wednesday, July 30th. Then they'll travel to Cleveland. So they'd be in Cleveland on deadline day on July 31st. So that will be a very busy day for Derek Falvey and company from either at Target Field or if they're traveling with the organization. But a lot of things to figure out here, man. A lot of things to figure out. I'm curious to see what happens. I'm super excited for this next few months here. I've had a blast still covering the team. I know the Twins haven't really lived up to their potential, and at times have been very maddening. They've also at times been an exciting team. The last few weeks have been good. They had a big winning streak in May. But I'm excited to talk about it more and cover anything that happens. So if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. Any updates on that deadline or with ownership stuff, I'll be glad to break it down. Appreciate you guys. We'll be talking at you soon.